Hey, Priority Pickleballers. All right, I promised you a review of the Suncoast Pickleball Association Pickleball Camp that I just recently got back from. I was at the Black Mountain Camp that was at Montreat, North Carolina, starting on September 11th. It was 5 full days of pickleball training and action with the pros out there. And I want to tell you all of the good things that took place at the camp and that I thought were really great about it, and then a few things that I might make as suggestions or something they could change in the future. First of all, overall, I want to say that it was a really good experience, and I'm going to go over my list of what I have that I think was really great about this camp. First is there were 8 pickleball trainers that we were working with. They were all certified instructors. Each one of them held a certification as well as being a professional player. They brought differing perspectives on all of the different skills they were teaching. They each had a different style. They each had different levels of enthusiasm about their particular topic, and they provided a really good overview of a bunch of different perspectives on the importance of different skills within the pickleball game. I felt a lot of confidence in each of the pros that I was working with. I felt like they really knew their stuff. They were comfortable as instructors. This wasn't their first time instructing. They weren't new to the game. They had a lot of depth of knowledge and personal knowledge from being players and from being instructors over a long period of time. I thought that was really great and something that really added to the experience for me. I love the people that were in the camp with me. All of the attendees that were there were serious about improving their game, whether they were looking to be tournament players, whether they were rec players, just looking to improve their records overall or have a little more skill for some smack talk. They all had different reasons for being there, but everyone was serious. Everyone wanted to improve their game. And you really felt that. You really felt like we were supporting one another in this common goal of improving our game on the courts. I like that there was a real variety of skills that were taught through the week. Not only were there specific strokes, brush volleys, serve, returns, lobs, any type of skill that you wanted to work on there that was available, and that was part of the planned curriculum for the day. But you also had the opportunity, if you wanted to pay a little extra and have some personal training and work with any of the pros that you really liked, you could have some personal time with them, or you could have a small group to work with the pro while you were there. The location was gorgeous, Montreat, North Carolina. The weather, for the most part, was wonderful. We had a little rain early in the week, but it was nice and cool in the mornings. Humidity was low in the afternoons, and just the views from the area were really beautiful. It was a really beautiful place to be in early September. The area was really, there was still enough to do nearby that it made it fun to go out in the evening, but not so much nearby that it was distracting and you felt like you were missing out by being at pickleball camp all day. The players were social and outgoing. This is one of the few camps where the players stay with the attendees. So you had the opportunity to eat lunch with a pro. You had the opportunity to be at the social events in the evening with a pro, as well as training with them during the day. And the players were really social and outgoing. It was really a fun group of people. As we know, most pickleballers are super nice people, super good people, super fun to be around. And that was no different at the camp. These were serious pickleball players who really were fun to be around. We could joke about, some horrible move we made during the day, during our training, or, we could just have a really good time with each other later in the day. I also really developed a camaraderie with my group. We were separated by ability early in the week, and you stayed with that same group of 8 people through the rest of the week. For the most part, I really liked that. I would have liked a little more interaction with players of differing levels, up and down. I think that would have been helpful. And I liked that we really had a sense of camaraderie. We really enjoyed one another. And by the end of the week, I really made some lifelong friends. And that was really great to me. No one in my group was someone that I knew from before, even though I traveled there with a fairly large group of friends from the Raleigh area. But it really was great. I really felt like the group was at a good level. I felt like I was with the correct group of people and that it really helped improve my skills. And the raffles were good. I know we've all been to tournaments or events where they say, oh, we're going to have raffles or giveaways, and they're not so great. But these raffles were pretty good. There were t-shirts and, small items they were giving away, books, that kind of thing. But there were some really nice quality paddles that were part of the raffles. I didn't win any, but a lot of people did, and they got to come home with some fun swag. Although in our swag bags, I have to say that my favorite piece of swag was the sweat towel that is shaped like a pickleball. I love that. I carry that around now, and I get to wipe my face down at the courts with my pickleball shaped yellow sweat towel. So that is a lot of fun. So let's talk about a couple things that I might have changed, might have thought to do differently. There were, as I said, a wide variety of instructors who were teaching with a lot of different styles. I think it would have been more helpful, instead of having just 2 hours of a drill, of actually interspersing some open play time with the drill time so that we could learn a skill and work on a skill and then actually play it in a mini game, in a small game. The reason why I say this is when you're drilling, when you're working with the instructors, say you're trying to do a lob, well, they're going to dink you an easy dink so that you can then practice your lob, which is great. When you get out on the court, nobody's going to give you those easy shots to set up your perfect play, your perfect move, your perfect shot. I really feel like it would have been helpful and solidify things a little more if we drilled and then had a little play and were told to incorporate the skill into our play at that moment. It was not as helpful to have open play time later in the day after we were tired from hours of drilling, and try to think of this 3 different topics that we learned that day and incorporate those on our own into our play. It would have been helpful to have a pro there to show us what to do, to critique us when we were actually trying to put these skills into gameplay, and to tell us what we were doing wrong if we weren't able to execute the new skills. In addition, there were some problems early on with the evaluation of players. This may have been due to the fact that it rained on evaluation day, and while we tried to do the evaluation that should have been a 2-hour process, we had to move from an outdoor venue to an indoor venue, and things were cut in half. The time was cut in half. You only had half of the players on the courts at one time for 1 hour, and then the other half of players on the courts for another hour. This created a situation where you had people who didn't end up in the right groups. We had some people that were with lower level players that should have been with higher level players, and vice versa. I think this would have been avoided if they didn't have to cut that down into half time. So that's something that I think Suncoast should be aware of as they move forward. In addition, we had a few communication snafus. They had it set up so that you were supposed to get a daily text as to any changes for the day, and they were very sporadic. There were some players who received them every day. I only received it 2 or 3 times. I didn't receive it every day. Some people didn't receive it at all, even though we all signed up to receive these text updates. Now, I don't know if it's because there might have been differences to access in the mountains, but in the end, there were some communication snafus, and I think we would have benefited from multiple ways of getting any changes or updates to the schedule on a daily basis, not just the text, since it didn't go to everyone. One skill or activity they were supposed to have, which was to actually videotape you playing and then have some critique time of your videotape or give you the videotape so you could do it yourself, that got canceled. Now, they told us that was because players had said they didn't want it, but everyone I was traveling with had wanted it. We wanted to do it. We wanted to have this so that we could either see our own play, work with other trainers, work with the trainers there to kind of look at how we're playing and find and identify easy ways that we could improve. But they just canceled that. They just told us on the first day, we're not doing that. And so that just got removed from the schedule. So I was a little unhappy about that. The food that was available at Montreat, I'm going to say was adequate. We really just ended up eating lunch there every day. They did provide breakfast and dinner, but I was less than impressed with the food choices. And since I was actually staying off-site, even though I paid for all of my meals at Montreat, I decided to not eat most of them at Montreat. People might have had differing views, but my impression was that the food was okay. It was adequate. For lunch, it was perfect. They had a salad bar every day and then some additional item to go with it. It was a little light on protein, which was a little tough, I think, when we were active for so many hours of the day and we really needed to feed those muscles. But other than that, I thought that the food was adequate, but it could have been improved. There were no washers and dryers available at Montreat. Since I was staying off property, I was fortunate to be in an Airbnb where we had a washer and dryer, but that would be a lot of sweaty athletic clothing that you are training in for 6+ hours a day to have to just kind of keep with you and truck out on the last day. So if you plan to do this and plan to stay on site, I would make sure you know where the laundry is in Black Mountain so that you can do some laundry on one of your evenings out. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of kind of questionable clothing that you have to carry around with you. And if that's not an issue for you, that's not an issue for you. So that's fine too. Overall, would I do it again? If you asked me any night at the end of camp, I might have said no. I might have said, I think they could do a better job with kind of knowing what adult learners want or need as far as the structure of this type of thing to help learn. I think there needed to be more sort of separation, as I said, where we had the drills followed by some play. That would have been really helpful. And some of the instructors were a little heavy on talking about things, which is not the way I learn. And I think a lot of adult learners don't have, 45 minutes to sort of listen to a lecture on pickleball play. It's not the way our brains are set up at this age. And I think that they could have done a little more dividing up of the activities into smaller blocks or mixing them up so that we weren't so focused on one thing. Maybe I just have a little bit of ADD, so maybe it was just me, but that would be a critique that I would give them. However, by the end of the week, I loved the entire thing. I was already starting to think about what would be my next pickleball training, what would be my next pickleball camp. I would absolutely do it again. There's just something about this long extended period of training where you're focused on your own abilities and maximizing what your abilities can be. What do you do well? What can you improve on? All of these things that really was enjoyable and helpful. I was fortunate enough to return from training, and the very next day I was playing in the red and white tournament on NC State's campus and got a silver medal with my great partner Nicole, and was able to put some of those skills into place right away. Even though I was exhausted, I was able to say, I really got something out of this. It was fun, it was relatively affordable, and I would do it again. So that's my take on the Suncoast Pickleball Camp at Montreat, North Carolina. Do I think you should try it out? I do. I think you should give it a try. Thanks, Priority Pickleballers, and I'll see you next time.